Today I'm going to explain why, if you're a man, you need to understand what the warrior spirit is and make sure it's strong in you. And if it's not, you need to see it revived. So welcome back, everybody. I'm David Long, and this is the Mountain Men. Guys, this is the channel where we help good men do great things, first in here, then in our family, then out in the culture. It's kind of a concentric leadership idea. Learn to lead yourself, learn to lead in the family, and learn to lead out in the culture. Today, guys, I want to talk about the topic of reviving the warrior spirit. It's been a concern of mine for decades, really, that the willingness, and let's define warrior spirit first. Let's start with a definition. A definition could be this. It's the way of describing that part of a man where he's willing and able to confront evil, willing and able to fight for good things, to fight for the good. So obviously, in that definition, it kind of gives you a clear picture of why it's critically needed. If we don't have the warrior spirit in a healthy way, and I'm not talking now about what they call toxic masculinity, I'm talking about a healthy, trained, mature warrior spirit. If that's not functional, if it's not operational in the men of the culture, you're going to have all kinds of problems with evil emerging. So, for instance, recently we had these two mass shooting examples. We had one in this school in Uvalde, Texas, less than a week ago. Young man, 18-year-old, went in, just gunned down 19 children and 2 teachers. And before he went over there, he shot his grandmother in the face, obviously trying to kill all of them, and he killed, like I say, the 19 plus the 2. Less than a week before that was the situation where the young man drove 3 hours up to Buffalo, New York from the Southern Tier, intending to gun down black people, entered the store at I think it was a Target store, and shot up and killed a number of people there as well. So what you're seeing in these situations, and there's lots of other examples, it's not just about mass shooting, it's evil is rearing its ugly head in this culture on numbers of fronts. But guys, the idea of evil is that it has to have a person to work through. Now, people can, be damaged by their upbringing. That's a common way that evil gets in, because evil gets in through bitterness and unforgiveness and this kind of stuff. So evil could be coming in that way. People could be studying the occult, and evil can come in that way. But generally speaking, it has to have a person to operate through to manifest. And so I wouldn't say, I'm not of the perspective that the people are evil. They're acting in pure evil, but it shows that evil exists, and it finds a willing host often to carry out its evil intention. So guys, part of the nature of a man, it's not the only part, but part of the nature of a man is he's supposed to be willing to confront evil. That's just part of one of our roles. And so if that's not there, then we're going to look the other way when evil rears its ugly head, or it just starts to take root. It could take root in politics. It can take root in all kinds of ways in our culture. And so that's why it's desperately needed. You can sort of see a parallel manifestation going on with the declining levels of testosterone. Now, lower testosterone has all kinds of health implications for men. It just really is not healthy. But it also correlates with this decrease in the warrior spirit in the men of our culture. Guys, and I'm doing research right now. I got a video I'm working on coming up soon on more detail about that, and more specifically how you revive, how you increase the levels of testosterone in men. But for purposes of today, guys, the testosterone levels in men is roughly half of what it was in their grandfathers. And it's going down by 10% per decade. So I see a correlation between that and the warrior spirit getting kind of put to sleep in men. Another interesting fact is that 71% of men in the target range for military recruiting of 17 to 24, 71% of the men don't qualify. Usually health issues, a large percentage of it is overweight, lack of education, lower intelligence levels. So that means that that's really a national security concern, and the military is concerned about that, and it correlates with if you're not going to operate in the warrior spirit, if there's nothing to fight, if there's nothing to be prepared to confront, then who cares what kind of shape I'm in? Who cares what kind of mental sharpness I have, or what I've done to improve my mental sharpness through education, through mental stimulation? Nobody cares, because we're not planning to do much, at least on the front of confronting evil. So we want to talk about now 3 ways we can revive the warrior spirit. And I want to frame this up a little bit. I want you to think about the a man being made in three parts. I think of it as body, soul, and spirit. The Bible talks about it, body, soul, and spirit. If you're not a spiritual person, just think of it this way: mind, body, and emotions. Mind, body, and emotions. It's the same exact parallel. So I want to talk about reviving the warrior spirit on those three levels. And I want to start with the mind, or what I would think of as the spirit. So the first thing you need to do is, in your mind, in your mental capacity, you need to reject the lie that the warrior spirit is a bad part of manhood. It's not a bad part of manhood. It's a necessary part of manhood. So it first comes with a mental acknowledgement, and really, you want to take it one step further. You want to embrace the warrior spirit. You want to say, okay, I need to feed my mind with ideas about the warrior spirit and look at good warriors in history. So we're going to be talking now about reading books. One of my favorite historical warriors is King David, and that story, of course, is found in the Bible, in the Old Testament, because it talks about one whose heart was in the right place most of the time. He made some big mistakes, but one of the best examples that we have of a warrior who's really fighting for the good in all of history. Another one is William Wallace. I'll come back to him in just a second. But so we're going to talk about embracing and nurturing. We're going to talk now about reading and putting into our mind, into our spirit, truths. And again, I would suggest the Bible. There's the battle stories of the Bible, of the Old Testament, all have instruction. There's so much depth that you can learn about right warriors and wrong warriors in the scriptures. Guys, the second area we want to talk about fostering and reviving the warrior spirit is on the body level. We're going to start with mind, body. We're going to go to emotions here in a minute. So we want to talk about reviving the warrior spirit in the body. And this, guys, this is why I'm concerned about testosterone, because if there's not that masculine hormone in men, they're going to be lethargic, they're going to tend to be overweight. It's just really super not healthy. But they're not going to tend to have that idea of wanting to hit things, wanting to fight. And so, one of the reasons I love to split wood by hand, you could get a hydraulic splitter, but I love to split wood by hand, is because it gives you something to hit constructively, and you can perfect that art. And of course, it's just physically good for you, and it builds testosterone. All good. Well, long distance running doesn't build testosterone, by the way. It kind of reduces it. But all kinds of normal labor, manual labor, encourages testosterone in men. But there are other ways. There's a part of guys that relate to guns, right? So we have a summer ingathering here at our property here in the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee each summer, and we have a little shooting range set up on our property. And this last summer, some of my boys had gone out and gotten some of those exploding targets. And so they set them up in the edge of the woods where we shoot into, and didn't tell me about it. And so we're shooting, I don't know, an hour or so we're shooting. And at one point, my one son takes his rifle and starts to find that target up there, shoots it, and it explodes. And pictures are falling off the wall in the house, and it's just this pretty sizable explosion. And I'm walking behind the tables, and I went over to Jeremiah and said, well, whatever gun you have, I want one of those. And of course, it wasn't the gun, it was the target. But that's just an example of, and then we set up a bunch of targets and we kept shooting after that. But that's just an example of healthy, spending time on the firing range is a health. Guys relate to firing guns, and so do many women. But guys in particular relate to firing guns. You're shooting something, you're destroying something. And now, we don't want to be destructive people, but we want to enhance the warrior spirit on the physical level. And guys, the third area we want to talk about reviving the warrior spirit in us is on the emotional level, or what I would call the soul. So the emotional level, you want to find ways to stir up the warrior passion inside of you, so that you have a willingness to fight for the right, to fight for the good, to resist evil. I got to tell you guys, one of my favorite mediums for doing this is movies. Now, movies are just, plays put into an incredible cinematic setting. And so one of my favorite movies of all times, of all genres, is the movie Braveheart. It tells the true story of William Wallace and really the commoners of Scotland rising up to defeat the English army, which had the English cavalry had never been defeated before. And these These were commoners. They were untrained. They were farmers. They were shopsmith keepers. These were not warriors, but under the inspirational leadership of William Wallace and fighting for the right, fighting for the good, fighting for freedom, gave them the courage, gave them the passion, and they rose up and defeated the English army, and it's a true story. So guys, those are my three things. You want to embrace it on the mental level or in the spirit, and I would encourage you, if you're not a Christian, to consider reading the Old Testament and asking God to show you what some of those war stories mean, and especially focus on the character and the life of King David. So we're going to foster it on the mental level. We're going to foster it on the physical level by doing things that are physical and that enhance really testosterone emerging more in our little bodies. And like I say, I'll come back and talk more about that soon. But we also want to stir it up on the emotional level. And that way we're feeding this body, soul, and spirit. We're feeding it mind, body, and emotions. So if you found this information helpful today, I hope you'll hit the subscribe button and the notification button as well. Share it on social media and give it a thumbs up. Hey guys, help me reach and help other men with these kind of videos. And gentlemen, again, I just want to leave you with this challenge. The reason we need to revive the warrior spirit is because this nation has a lot of evil emerging. We need to have warriors for good, all right? I hope this has been helpful, gentlemen. I'm David. This is Mountain Men. Have a great day.